Hello, Coach Brett here. Welcome to my shortened version of my workshop on pacing and time management. So, for today, I'm going to go over kind of the most important points that you would get if you come to my live workshop on pacing. I hope you'll join us for the live version so you can get even more great tips and tricks. Let's take a look. First thing we want to make sure that we remember is that the lesson timing is really important. Our classes are 25 minutes long. You should never end before that 25 minutes unless it's a trial student who does not show up. In that case, you need to stay 15 minutes. Otherwise, you want to teach the full 25 minutes. If that means if you get through the lesson in 20 minutes, you have to fill up those extra 5 minutes with some kind of activity or game or discussion. If for some reason there's an IT issue or the student is late, you'll want to stay an additional 3 minutes to make up for that lost time. Preparation is going to be the key to making sure that your pacing is on point. We can find some different ways to prepare for class. Number one thing you can do is go to your upcoming classes tab and take a look at all of the classes you have coming up. You can click on the lesson content button in order to see a PDF of all of the different lesson slides so that you can prepare those ahead of time. You want to make sure you ask your questions like, what kind of class is this? We have lots of different classes here: assessment, trial, project, core classes. You're going to teach each of these and approach pacing differently for each of those. So what kind of class is it? What level of class is it? And how many slides are there? How many slides is really important. Here at GoGoKid, our lessons do vary. So you can have something with 18 slides, you can have something with 32 slides. You want to know how many slides there are because it is going to affect your pacing. You want to make sure you understand what the main objectives are of the class or of the lesson, as well as the teacher directions. You also want to have props, TPR, extension activities that can help with your pacing as well. Every lesson starts out with a lesson introduction. Your goal here is to spend a minute or two introducing yourself, getting the student's name, and building some rapport. So you might ask some additional questions. How are you? How old are you? If it's an older student, I might ask them, what did you do today? How was school today? What classes did you have? You want to build that rapport, so take a little time to do that. This is also a great place to explain your secondary reward system. When you do a good job, today we will get balls, whatever it is that you're using that day. It's not a great place. I do treat this differently if it's a trial student or new to me student versus a regular student. If it's a trial or new to me student, I'm going to use this introduction time to start thinking about ways that I might have to adjust the class. Maybe, they can't even tell me their name. I know that they're a beginner. I'm going to have to keep things really simple. Also, I use it to kind of think about their level. If they're a beginner, if they're advanced, maybe I'm going to need to simplify. Maybe I'm going to need to extend. Maybe this is going to be way too easy for them. So I think about those during that introduction time. If it's a regular student to me, I'll adjust how much time I spend here based on my knowledge of them. If I know that they are a fast student and we're going to have lots of extra time, I'll spend a little extra time here building my rapport, versus a student who I know struggles to get through the lessons. I'll go through this very quickly. Let's start by talking about our trial classes. Always keep in mind the goal. Our goal of a trial class is to have fun with the student, help them be successful, introduce them to GoGoKid Classroom, and get them talking. So don't stress about finishing every slide here. Feel free to deviate for these students. We can't change the level of the lesson as of right now, so you have to be prepared to extend it or simplify it based on the student's needs. Go with the flow here. Have fun. Focus on getting output. Don't worry so much about the content because they're going to learn all that when they go to the core classes. So use the content as kind of a guide to help you have them have a good experience in our GoGoKid classroom. Our core classes, it's very important that we do get through all of those slides. Remember, we have 25 minutes. So if you have 18 slides, you might need to spend a little bit more than a minute per slide. If you have 32 slides, you might need to spend a little less than a minute. I always kind of go with 1 minute per slide as a good gauge to start with. And then you can adjust from there based on how many slides there are. We want to make sure we finish all of them so that when they go to the next class, they don't get behind. That's going to be really important. Prioritize that new content over review. So spend a little more time on the new content, less time on the review. Use that wrap-up section again to, if we have extra time, you can expand on that. You don't have a lot of time, you can go through it quickly. And our student evaluation is always a great chance to make sure that students get all of the information that they need. Assessment classes. Your assessment classes, 25 minutes. If it's a kindergarten level, it'll just be the assessment. Some of the other level, you also introduce the project that they'll be doing in the next class. They will not do the project in the assessment class. So I recommend you spend about 20 minutes on the assessment, and if there's a project review, you'd spend about 5 minutes on that. If there's no project review, you would just spend the 25 minutes on the assessment. The assessments have different assessment stops. Use those rewards and assessment stops as a guide to your pacing. So if I have 3 assessment stops, I know I want to spend about 10 minutes for each stop. That will help me out, with my pacing. If I get to stop 2 and I'm only at minute 12, I know I'm going to need to extend or else I'm going to get done too quickly. Know how many questions are in the assessment as well. The more questions I have, the less time I have for each question. So keep that in mind. Our project classes can be a little bit tricky. There are not as many slides. Our goal here is free talk. Get the student talking. The project itself is not as important as it is as we're using that project to get the student talking. Sometimes student might come with the project already done or they don't have the materials. That's okay. Adapt, adjust, use your whiteboard, have them draw on a piece of paper. Again, the goal is the actual talking, not so much the project. When we get to that lesson closing, again, our goal is about 1 minute for the goodbye slide. Tell the student what a great job they did, maybe count your rewards, say goodbye, sing a goodbye song. Again, it's going to depend on how much time you have. If you finish too early, you can always go back and review some lesson content. You can practice the words and sentences that were learned. You can sing a goodbye song. You can talk about your secondary rewards. You can use some of those game tools if you're in that new classroom. Make sure if you do finish a lesson early or you got to the end too quickly, reflect on what you can do differently next time so that that doesn't happen again. I hope this gave you some quick tips on pacing in the classroom. Make sure that you have some kind of system to keep track of your time. Is it your phone? Is it the computer clock? Find something that works best for you. There are lots of different ways out there to keep track of your time. Practice makes perfect here. I find if you are doing all of the other ESL strategies like your TPR, your simple language, your props, that your pacing will get much better. So really self-evaluate. What is it that I'm not doing? Am I not giving simple enough language for the students to be able to complete what I'm asking them to do, and it's taking too long? Kind of think about what is the problem, what's going on, why is my pacing not working, and really self-evaluate what you can do differently next time to help you have a better class. Good luck and happy teaching.